All right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. If you are now tuned in live, two things, in fact, three things. Number one, put some flames in the chat. Number two, let us know where you're listening in from. And of course, number three, please like, share, and subscribe. So if you're viewing this on Facebook, you want to hit the like button. If you're viewing this on LinkedIn, hit that like button. Send this through Messenger. Send this to all of your friends. We're going to get into a very, very interesting show about marketing and positioning. I have with me, as usual, the king of branding himself, Mr. Shan Raiz. So, Shan, when you're ready, let's make it happen.
Hey guys, let's grow. I'm just handling some business. You know, early in the morning, business never stops, right? Business never stops. So yes. Just like you said, marketing and positioning, right? So many people have been following us with the breakfast with the brand and the branding and branded like a leader. But after branded like a leader, like how do you move it? How do you position it accurately, extensively, expensively, right? So you can, add the numbers and add the zeros to the back of your fees like we teach. How can you properly, appreciatively, eloquently, and excellently position your brand in the market for the immediate and maximum response? So that's what we'll be talking about today: marketing and positioning. And if you're ready, I've got a lot for you, but I want to do something real quick. I know we do the intros and all that and welcomes to everybody, but I just wanted to shout out my guy E. Right? If I didn't have something else to do, I would be in. I think he's in Chicago right now, pushing the UOU book. Right? So go ahead and snatch up that book. Support my guy Eric Thomas. Right? Listen, remember, he did the foreword for the first book. He did the foreword for the first book. So go ahead, snatch that up, support that 1000%. I told him I'd shout him out. Listen, go support my guy, Eric Thomas, the number one motivational speaker in the world. You will benefit from this book. All right. I just want to get that out the way. Listen.
Of course.
The foreword,
Yeah.
came from Eric Thomas, right? So there might not be the first book or the second book. It might not be present. It really might not be present. Before anybody knew who I was, when I was just a kid in Queens going back and forth to the Bronx to work, your guy put it on himself to help a person who could not pay for it. You understand? So a lot of you are trying to find your way, find your positioning, find your branding, find your money. You're like, I don't have any money. Listen, everybody doesn't do everything for $1. That's why we do this. That's why we do this for free. Listen, when I tell you that I learned from the best, man. I learned from the best. Go ahead, support my guy, Eric Thomas. Snatch up that book, UOU. I just had to set that straight and put that out there real quick. I would be in Chicago if I didn't have something else to do, but I'm always with you. I always support. Brand, show love. Let's go.
Let's grow.
That's right.
Definitely have to send a quick shout out to E on that. Listen, guys, this morning is going to be absolutely phenomenal. This is actually one of my favorite subjects, Shan. Marketing, positioning. It's actually one of my favorite subjects. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Um, Trust me, if you don't have a pen and a paper or a notebook, then now is your time. We'll be going to a break in about 60 seconds, and you'll have an opportunity to get one. But before we do, I do want to send a quick shout out to everybody looking. So, phenomenal morning to everybody. I see Michelle, I see Shatasha. I also see some other leaders in the chat. So, guys, phenomenal morning to you. Listen, keep putting the flames, keep sharing this content, right? Keep sharing this on Facebook, on IG, on LinkedIn. Share with all your people because
Oh,
people
I'm
need this
sorry.
information.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
All right. For those who know, we talked about it a little bit, right? But they hacked our page in the beginning of the year, February, March, April. Like I was going back and forth with Facebook to get the page back. Never got the page back, launched the new one, and we just hit 10K. We just hit 10K today. So give yourself a shout out, give yourself some love if you supported, right? If you supported
Right.
and went and liked the page, and if you haven't gone to like the page, go like the page now. Just go ahead and do it. There'll be some extra stuff and some extra benefits and bonuses that we'll be giving only on the official Sean Rais business page. Yeah, let's grow.
Let's grow. Take a slow break, Mr. B.
Design your programs around their demands and their requirements. And if you want to hire a paying client, design your copy different. This is marketing. So watch this. Instead of saying, I can help you start your coaching business, I say this, I can help you take your 6-figure coaching business to a 7-figure coaching business. You know what I just did? And this comes with branding, guys. It comes with your personality and your personal branding and your stance on authenticity marketing. You attract your ideal client and you push away the unideal client. Five pins less than $10. One pin almost $2,000. When people come to me, I always say, what is your number? And when they say 500, I say, let's put a 0 behind it and then figure out the packaging, figure out the presentation, figure out the place where you're going to present it, and figure out the people that you're going to give it to. Because I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. But in those 5 P's, brother, presentation, packaging, place, people, price. They will pay the price because they have paid the price and they are paying the price. Now the question is, are you getting the price?
All right, guys, welcome back. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the #1 podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. Shan, let's get it started.
All right. So marketing, what is it? What is marketing? What is positioning? If you are a B2B or a B2C, a business to client or a business to business model, if that's your business model, you probably have an idea who your ideal client is, but you may not be on their top of mind. Right? You may not be on their top of mind, which is where you want to be at all times. Now, how do you get to an ideal client's top of mind and remain there? That is marketing. That's marketing. So listen, everybody went and got the new iPhone. Everybody went and got the new iPhone as soon as it came out, right? And we all know what I'm talking about. Right. If you know what I know, then you know what I'm talking about. Right. Everybody ran out and got the new pieces. And that's because they're top of mind. They're always top of mind. So how do you remain top of mind? There is absolutely no way to do it besides marketing. Many people think if I have the competence, they're going to come to me. Right. If I'm good and I am who I say I am, they're going to come. I guarantee you this. If you build it, they will not come. And this is the problem with a lot of people. I know you're super confident, but you're super humble at the same time. And there's a disconnect between being humble and promoting yourself, because people get stuck there, Junior. You know what I mean? They get stuck there, and they're like, well, I don't want to seem overly ambitious. I don't want to seem like I'm doing the most. I don't want to seem like I'm being pushy, right? I don't want it to look like I need anything. As a people, you're proud, right? We're proud, so we don't want to make it look like we're looking, but this is what I want you to understand. In business, there are only two things, and this comes from Peter Drucker, who's like the management guru in business. He said there's only two sides to business. That's it. Marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation. So innovation is where your products and services are idealized. They're the ideation, the production, and the development. Hopefully you guys are following me with a pen. Ideation, product development, and creation takes place on the side of innovation. Letting the world know about it is marketing. Positioning it in the right place is marketing. Pricing it the right way is marketing. Identifying your ideal client and who this is the best fit for, all of that is marketing. So if you have a phenomenal service, you have competencies, you know who you are, you know what you do. You're a professional, you're an executive, you're B2B, B2C, you're PhD, BA, BS, all of these different letters and all of this good stuff, right? You are the person. If people don't know about it, if they're not beating down your doors, if you don't have to hire people to fulfill the services that were created over here on the innovation side, there's a marketing gap. If your bank account doesn't reflect the innovation and the genius in your services and products, it's a marketing gap.
You know, while you were saying what you said right there, something came to mind. Everything you said is true. Um, I heard something about Steve Jobs when he released the original iPhone. It said that the actual product was not even functioning. Like it didn't even work. Like he had to stand close to this box so he could keep it plugged in, and he kept switching between iPhones because he was scared that one would stop working right at any point in time. So basically, what I'm saying is, Steve is an innovator. Everybody knows Steve is an innovator. But what made him phenomenal was his ability to market his innovation, even when his idea didn't even work. Like it literally didn't. If he took it off the cord and he he walked over to the stage, the thing would just shut off. Like it literally, the product did not work. So he sold an idea, and then later figured out how to actually craft and bring it to life.
That's the way it's done.
That's super interesting.
That's the way it's done. So people always ask me about product development. People always ask me to evaluate their products and what it looks like and ask me what should they sell. And I always tell them, you shouldn't sell anything until you sell something, right? Don't come up with anything. Sean, what should I sell? I don't know. Have you gotten any money yet? That's my response. I don't know. Have you gotten any money yet? And they're like, no, I'm working on this course, or I'm working on this X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, stop putting time and money into something that you haven't gotten money for yet. First, you have to sell, because the market will tell whether that product is going to succeed or fail. That's marketing. Marketing, you have to market test. You have to do market research. And what better way to do market research than to get paid for something? Let me tell you how the greats write books. The greats write books by submitting a publishing proposal to a publishing house, right? That's one model. They write down the proposal and then they send the proposal to a publishing house, and they don't begin to write one page until they get paid for the idea. When Penguin or Random House says, yes, we want this, Lighthouse Publishing says, yes, we want this phenomenal idea, we're going to pay you $25,000 up front and then XYZ in publishing. That's when that's when the greats sit down and say, okay, let me begin to write. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen the other way around, unless you're self-publishing. If you're self-publishing, that's something different. However, if you are a service provider, product provider in this B2B, B2C space that we're in, this vertical, you do not want to, okay, so let me put it this way. Let me cut that thought and give you an example. Tesla sells out their ideas before the first product begins in production.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, some may argue that like a lot of these products are still in production, right?
That's it.
Some may argue that. But that's super interesting. While you were speaking, the question came to my mind about positioning. So everybody knows that to market, you need a marketing plan. But what role do you think positioning plays in the development of a marketing plan? For
Everything. So the branding and the positioning go hand in hand. The branding and the positioning go hand in hand. If you're not positioned as the OVO in your vertical, there's going to be a problem with sales and marketing and innovation and development, because you have to wait. You have to wait until the big guys get off the stage, right? You got to wait until somebody gives you slot time. You have to wait until someone else runs out of product. That's how it works. If you're not the OVO or number 2 or number 3 in your vertical, then you're basically catching the scraps that come off the table, because everybody else is selling well, because they are either the only viable option in that vertical, the only viable option, the best contender, or they have the number 2 or 3 slot. That's all positioning. That's all branding. If you're not positioned in that space, then you have to figure out a way to reach that space. And that's branding yourself like a leader, executive branding, executive positioning, executive presence, and presenting. And you know, the 5 P's are what we're going to do, the 7 P's of marketing. It's so important that you do this the right way, because if not, you're going to be seen as a commodity, and anything you do will not sell. It will not sell, or you'll be struggling in your bank account, struggling in your business.
Very nice. So let's talk about positioning from a deeper aspect, right? Positioning from the aspect of, like, how do you actually position yourself within a marketing plan? So what you just spoke about is positioning in your market, like positioning as number 1, setting
right.
yourself apart in the market. But you know, I'm a copywriter, and what I've discovered is that you could also position products. For example, you could position something with the tone that you write it in, the language that you use, the actual sales strategy, like so for example, the multi-step sequence leading up to the close, or leading up to the actual call to action. So how important, or what role does positioning play from that perspective when it comes to marketing?
You have to present yourself, we're going to say top shelf and away from the public, right? We're going to say top shelf and away from the public. So if someone's doing copy, or if someone's doing email sequences, or if someone is like we are right now, we're going live, but no, the public doesn't have access. The only way they can get access is through the chat, and then still there's a disconnect and there's a removal, right? So how do you position yourself in the marketplace again? So do you have someone? I remember, and this is so funny. When I started my business, I didn't have a team. Okay, so when I started my business, I didn't have a team. And I had a business card and I had a phone number on the business card. So when people would call the phone, I would say hello. And they would say, well, I'm so-and-so calling for Mr. Stone Rais. Is this him? And I would say, no, Mr. Rais is busy right now. But if you give me your number at an appropriate time, I'll make sure that he gets back in contact with you. I position myself away from the front line. How do you position or safeguard yourself? Think about walking into a professional's office. When you walk into a professional's office, you meet a receptionist. You meet a secretary. You do not meet the expert immediately. That doesn't happen until you've gone through multiple hurdles or multiple sequences. Is that what you're talking about, Junior? The positioning and the placement of this expert? Okay, so in the expert positioning, yes, sir, expert positioning. So when someone comes into the community, they don't meet me until the last point, once they've made the payment. Once they've made the payment, so you have to articulate yourself within your organization the best way possible. And that is luxury or even ultra luxury based on your pricing model. This is why I tell people so many times, I tell them, raise your price, raise your price, raise your price. And they can't do it because they haven't raised their self-esteem. They haven't raised their self-confidence. They haven't raised their self-awareness. They have all the competence in the world, but they're not so aware of it, because if they were, they'd be like, I've been in this vertical for 16 years. I've got 8 years of education, 8 years plus 16. That's 24 years of competence. But when they enter the entrepreneurial space, they're like, I've got 5 days. I've only got 5 days of experience. Right? But that's not the case. You've got 24 years in 5 days. So when you do it that way, you put your prices high from the beginning. And then when someone sees you, they perceive you as being eloquent, excellent, expensive, luxury, handcrafted, right? And what happens is this. When you go low price and low tier, you get a bunch of people in your program that you probably are going to get really a lot of headaches from, because low paying people want the most. High paying people want the least. Very, very, very important part that you want to understand, especially when you're starting out. Low paying people are high maintenance. High paying people are low maintenance. So if you're by yourself and you got a team of 2 or 3, low paying or low hanging fruit is going to hurt your business, because they're going to take all of your time and you're not going to have any time for marketing. They'll never be satisfied, and you will never be able to do enough for them to satisfy them. However, in the same time that it takes, let's say your prices are $100. I see a lot of this. Oh, well, I'm going to sell it for $97. I'm going to have a low entry, and I'm going to do it for $97. Okay. But the goal is $10K. The goal is $10,000. How many $97 products do you have to sell to get to $10,000? And this is where this is where the first thing starts, right? The ideal client identification. Ideal client identification. If you do not have ideal client identification, the beginning of ideal client is ideal life. If you don't have your ideal life, you don't understand who your ideal client is, and you'll just take anybody, and you're just opening up a bazaar, right? A bazaar business, and you're saying, I'll take anybody for anything at all. We do it all. right? And you're doing something for $97. How many $97 products do you have to sell to get to 10K? What does that look like? It's painful. It's average. It's below average. So when it's below, so do you even want a car that costs less than $20,000? Do you want a house that costs less than $100,000? Of course you don't. And people who want professional services don't want to pay less than a premium price either. So the way you perceived yourself from the very beginning is at the bottom of the tier. The answer is 100. As a matter of fact, 101. You have to sell 101 $97 products to get to 10K. It'll take you the same amount of time that it will to sell one 10K piece. So people say, well, I'm not making any sales because my prices are so high. I say, just wait. They say, well, I'm not making any sales. I need money. I need to drop my price. I said, no, you can never compete on low price because there'll always be someone who's willing to go lower. So when you say 97, someone else says 75. When you say $70, someone else says 65. When someone says 5K and you say 4K, someone else says 3K, then you say 2K, then they say 997. You can't compete on lower price, but what you can compete on is top price. Top price. It takes belief in yourself, self-esteem, and prestige. Prestigious psychology. Write that down. Prestigious psychology.
All right. So with that being said, we are due for a break. When we come back, we'll be taking a few questions. I do see a few questions in the chat. So we'll be back in 60 seconds. If you do have a few more questions, definitely drop them in. And once we come back, we'll be taking them. Let's grow.
Prestigious psychology.
CSA. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. Clarify. Be clear about what you want. Clear about your vision. Clear about your goals. Clear about the impact. Clear about the legacy. How many generations do you want this business to go on? And then simplify. So you think big, you expand, then you contract. Think big, and then you think small and focus on the one thing. And then when you lock on it, you set it on fire, brother. Make them sick of you. Listen, the more people unsubscribe from your stuff, the better. The wrong ones take a walk. The right ones show themselves in.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the #1 podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. Okay, so we're actually about to take a few questions. So if you do have questions, go ahead, put them in the chat. We want to hear from you, right? So, Shan, we have one question here from Michelle. I'm going to go ahead and read it. So, Michelle says, how can a solopreneur keep themselves off the front line if they don't have a team as yet?
I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs stumble, fumble the ball, trip themselves up, and then bury themselves under hard work. Seriously, this is where solopreneurs stay solopreneurs because they never elevate their position in the psychology or the mind of the market. The answer to your question, Michelle, is systems and processes. Systems and processes. So someone comes to your website, what do? Do they call your phone number? Do they call your personal cell? Or do they book a call with you? Because if they book a call with you, you can literally spend $10, $5, maybe maybe $30 to $60 a month and have a professional service pick up the line. That's one question. That's one way you can do it. Another way is to have someone return their call. Very simple. Have someone else return their call. And then professionally book an appointment with you so you're not on the front line of your business. It has to appear as if you're busy. What are professionals? Always working, always busy. You have to give that perception that you're not just doing anything and you're always readily available. When I started and people had to book a call with me, they had to wait for 2 weeks to get a time of appointment. Now, I was busy, but there was a lot of times that I wasn't busy and it was all positioning. And I was like, well, I'm not going to take the call immediately. I learned, guys. This is the thing. I learned from trial and error. If you book a call for tomorrow or you're in the DM with somebody or you're having a conversation with somebody, they're like, let's just jump on a phone call right now. That makes you look thirsty. And it makes you look unprofessional. People used to say, you know, Sean, he jumped in my DM. That wasn't me. I don't do social media. I'm not in nobody's, you understand? So I want you to think though, if you are having the conversations with people and you are getting them to book a call with you, don't be the person that says, let's get on the call right now in Messenger or what is it, the FaceTime thing, where you go, you're in your house and you're absolutely doing nothing. No. Oh, this is Michelle's VA. Michelle is speaking right now, or she's at an appointment, or she's probably on the phone call with the client. Her books are fully booked out. Her calendar is booked for the next 14 days. When is it that you'd like to be able to get on a call with her and I'll see what I can do? She's very busy. That changes the perception. It immediately raises the price and the psychology of the buyer. And there's a lot of systems and processes that you can use. Calendly is one. Acuity is another. It's not as complex as people make it out to be. The problem is thirstiness, eagerness. And I know this, guys. Listen, I know you might be head over heels in bills. I know you might not have had a drip in a while. It's okay. Be patient, calm down, and push it out. Because when time does come, when the right person comes in, they will be on the call and they will remember why they booked the call and they will be on time and they will be ready to pay premium. It's worth the wait.
You know, Shan, when you said that, it reminded me of a story. One of my mentors, he cannot be reached by phone. He cannot be reached by email. cannot be reached by social. The only way to get in touch with him is via fax. If you want to work with him, if you want to work with him, you have to fly out, meet him at a ranch or something, ride a horse, meet him at a ranch, and then y'all can talk about working together. And then he even said that he would even have them go through more hurdles. He would, it's so funny. What he would do is he would actually ask them, like, when they finally made it to his ranch, so he would ask them, so how was the flight? And in the back of his mind, he was hoping that they would say the flight was terrible. Let me explain why. Because if they fly through let's say a thunderstorm or something to get to him, then you're not gonna fly through a thunderstorm, ride a horse, come to a ranch, and all of that, and not spend any money. What he realized was everybody who said that they had a bad flight, they're like, man, I flew here, it was terrible. There was this thunderstorm, and I'm riding a horse, I'm at a ranch. Like, nobody's not gonna go through that and not spend any money, and they spend more money. So the reason I'm saying this is just qualifying the prospect using hurdles in the way that you were just talking about it. And it goes back into my question earlier about positioning in marketing, because all of that is marketing. It's called a conversion mechanism. So everybody knows about conversion mechanism. So everybody knows about lead generation, but there's also lead conversion. So you have a lead generation mechanism, but you also have a lead conversion mechanism. And that is like a multi-step sequence where you're forcing a lead to go through multiple hurdles before they can talk with you.
Let me meet your analogy with one that everyone will be familiar with. They might not be familiar with flying through a thunderstorm and riding a horse, but everyone will be familiar with the 2 or 3 job interviews, as well as the battery of assessments that you take, as well as the familiar, all too familiar background screening, federal, state, drug test, criminal record invasion, and going back into your story. And what about this one? Give us the last 20 give us the residences, the addresses that you've had for the last 20 years. That was always the one that got me, because I came up in a pretty unstable environment when I was younger. My mother and father moved around a lot. So when they asked me that on a job interview, I was like, oh my God, because I'd be there for an hour trying to remember the different addresses that they may have moved into, right? So I want you to think about that. When you're trying to just get a job, you might go through 3 interviews, 2 phone calls. You submit an application. That's the first thing I want you to think about. You submit an application. You guys are giving people immediate access to you without the submission of an application. Just the submission of an application. Think of the word. Think of the psychology, and then think of the word. Submission. Submission. They are submitting to your authority and submitting to your process. The more questions, the better. The deeper, the better. You don't understand. When I put something on Indeed, if I put something on Indeed.com, I'm looking for the ability to follow directions. And that comes in the form of a questionnaire. And anyone who skips the questionnaire, I skip their resume. We go skip for skip, skip for skip. And I literally clean out 80% of proposals, or 80% of people who apply, applicants, because people are lazy. They don't pay attention to detail. They don't follow directions, and they want to do it their own way. Everybody wants to do it their own way. There's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. People can't pay attention. So if you can't pay attention on an application and you want a job, how likely is it that you're going to really pay attention inside of the organization? Not at all. So there's no reason. Okay, so here's another one. Tell them to submit a 2-minute video on why they should work with you. 2-minute video on why you should work with them. And if their interview, if their video goes 2:01, disqualify them. People ask for a 30-second video. How can you condense everything into 30 seconds? I don't know. But send me a 30-second video telling me why we should accept you as a closer on the team. And if it's 36 seconds, as soon as it goes over 30 seconds, disqualify. Delete, delete, delete. You'll be left with the finest of the fine. You'll be left with the funnest of the fun. You'll be left with the fewest of the true. And it'll make your business completely brand new. Put some hurdles up, create some stop gaps, create some checks and balances, create some assessments, create some applications, and make them apply. Remember, I always say this, train them how to treat you when they meet you by how you treat yourself. If you're the doorman, there's a problem. If you're opening the door, there's a problem. If you're running to the car, holding an umbrella and grabbing bags out of the trunk, there's a problem. Think of your positioning. Where do you exist in the business?
That was a phenomenal question from Michelle. Michelle, did that help you? Put it in the chat. Did that give you some ideas? Everybody else. So for the people looking on, I know we have some people on YouTube, we have some people on Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. Put a question in the chat if you have one about marketing and positioning. So I think she did get some value from that. All right, great. So Shan, I have another question here. So let's talk about, so we've spoken about positioning when it comes to marketing. Let's talk about positioning when it comes to sales. So can the right positioning, in fact, how can the right positioning impact sales? What is the effect on the sales process? The sales process meaning whether you're on the phone, a lot of people do Zoom nowadays, right? So whether you're on the phone, whether you're in Zoom, whether it's a funnel, right? So what is the positioning? How can the positioning impact sales?
It's the same thing in the beginning. There should be an application. There should be an application process. Someone should not have immediate access to you. That's first. Number two, there should be a long line. There should be a long line of applicants. Make them wait. Write that down. Make them wait. Make them wait. The price should be high. The price should be high. Dentist practices begin with high prices. They are professionals. They have offices on 57th Street and 8th Avenue. Their rent is high. Their prices have to be high. They take their first client and make 6 figures. First client. In our first 90 days, we did multiple 6 figures. Think about the positioning. Think about, this is the model that works. This is the model that works. And this is the only model that we teach. We don't teach any other models. I don't teach low prices. I don't teach opening the door and grabbing groceries out of the trunk, rolling out the carpet. No. Once they come in, so everyone who came to Myrtle Beach, for instance, let me give you the flip side of it before someone says, oh, he's arrogant. Listen, the people who came to Myrtle Beach paid a phenomenal price to be there. So I held the door for the phenomenal people who came into my event. I treated them to I was the last one to sit down at the dinner table. When we did Ruth Chris, I was the last one to sit down. I was the last one to take a bite of food. I wanted to make sure that everyone was served. excellently, eloquently, expensively. I paid like they earned the ability to be in the room. So it flips. This is servant leadership. It flips. Service first. So you serve to a super high degree like I'm doing right now. This is how you serve, but you serve from the right positioning. And if someone doesn't respect it or understand it or translate it into value, they will never value you. They'll never understand value. Let them go, right? Don't chase after someone who's trying to get something for $15. Stop doing that. You're playing yourself petty. You're selling yourself cheap. You're chasing your tail like a cat, and a cat never catches his tail. And you'll never get rich or positioned in life the way you want to be if you're not positioned in business the way you need to be. Have patience. Have discipline. Be a professional. Understand that you're doing business. Business has cycles. It takes time. Be patient. Position yourself the right way, and it will pay off around the same time. So what do I mean by that? Around the same time. Watch this. If you position yourself in the right way, in about 5 years, you'll be exactly where you want to be. When I say exactly where I mean exactly where you want to be. Running your business from a yacht, running your business from Dubai, running your business from Punta Cana. If you position yourself the wrong way, then that will accumulate too. And if you're in business for 5 years, you'll be out of business at 5 years because you'll be done chasing your tail. You'll be done chasing your tail and you'll just be like, this isn't for me. I'm going to go back and get a job. Or if you got a job, you'll never leave it. You'll never leave it. So for those of you who are doing the dance, right, where you're in your business, but you're in someone else's business, you've got a business, but you're still on a 9 to 5. The way you get out of the 9 to 5 is by positioning yourself eloquently, expensively, expertly, and excellently. Raising your prices from the beginning. Now that, of course, this is if you have the competence and the right training. Don't try to sell. Well, you could make this argument. Watch this. Some people get paid to learn. Some people pay to learn. Other people get paid to learn. And again, it's a positioning thing. So what do I mean? People are not so phenomenal at their processes, but they position themselves well so that they can learn while being paid to learn. Does that make sense?
It does. So what you're saying is they don't necessarily have the competency, if I'm understanding.
Not necessarily. No, they
They don't
don't.
have the competency, but they're making the money.
They're making the money and they're learning as they go along. A lot of you probably know them. A lot of you might have worked with them, right? Some people charge exorbitant prices and give you subpar services, right? And then you want to find your mid ground. Again, it begins with your ideal life. What does your ideal life look like? Are you a 6-figure earner, a 7-figure earner, an 8-figure earner? And set your business accordingly. Structure your business accordingly.
Yes, sir. With that being said, guys, we're about to go to another break in a few seconds, but keep the questions coming. I believe we should have time for 2 more when we come back. So see you soon. Let's grow, Mr. B. Take us to a break.
Who are your 3 top competitors? That's a real question. Who are your 3 top competitors? Promise you, they're not who you think they are. They're probably somebody that you like and love. That's cool. It's good. Dig into what they do. When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. The very top earners, I don't care what their denomination is, what their religion is, what their culture is, what their demographic is. They making your money. Some people on TikTok, I said man, woman, or child. There's 8-year billionaires on TikTok. See what they doing and duplicate the model.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is Breakfast with the Brand. If you've enjoyed the show so far, put some flames in the chat. We are about to wind down. So this has been a super interesting conversation on branding, marketing, and positioning. So Shan, where we sort of left off was with the sales, right? The sales aspect. I agree 100%. Positioning does make sales a lot easier. And I've even heard some people say that sometimes it's good to slow down so you can speed up.
Oh yeah, you have to. You have to. Watch this. When you raise the prices, you work with less people. You work with less people. So you're able to slow down and concentrate and do phenomenal work.
Definitely. But you know what I'm talking about is, like you were saying, people messaging other people like, hey, let's get on a call right now, or let's do this right now. Sometimes you have to slow down and say, hey, let's do this next week. Hey, let's do this, at another time.
That's when
Right?
you look thirsty. You're not supposed to position yourself thirsty as a thirst ball.
Exactly. So I definitely agree with that. Okay, so while we wait for a few questions to come in, I do want to talk about the Leadership Live deep dive at 5. So that's coming up at 5 p.m. East. And we're going to be hosting an exclusive private training for professionals, industry leaders who want to learn how to turn their experience, education, and expertise into scalable and profitable businesses. So, ladies and gentlemen, if this is you, then you could follow the link, should be towards the bottom there. And if my team could put that in the chat as well, then definitely tap in. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, the Leadership Live deep dive at 5 tonight will definitely be one for the books. As you know, if you don't know, we're launching Marketing Like a Leader 10-10 wins. So that's October 10th. And everything we do prior to is a pre-frame. So if you're tapping in right now, these concepts will be unpacked, expounded on, smoothed out inside of Marketing Like a Leader. Either way, these are the practical, usable, immediate tools that have been successful in building not only my business, but the businesses that I have observed, right? And you know that I don't come based on purely observation. There's also an evidence-based foundation. So it's not just what I've observed, it's also what I've learned. And then what I've lived. This is what works. This is the model that works. prestigious psychology. Prestigious psychology. You will not hear it before. You will not have heard those words before put together, and you won't hear them after we get off the call put together by anyone but me. You need to have a prestigious psychology. Place yourself above preeminent. Place yourself as the OVO in your vertical. That's only viable option. And know this, no one will believe it if you don't. You got to sell you first. If you don't believe it, no one else will. So if you say 10K and someone else laughs, that's an indication of who you should not be on the call with. And sometimes the person that you shouldn't be on the call with is you. Sometimes you're the wrong person on the call. Yeah. You brought yourself. You brought your 4th grade self when you got your lunchbox taken, right? You brought your 8-year-old self when your family got locked out or when you came home and the lights was off. You're bringing the same lack psychology when they repoed your car, when you got divorced. You're bringing that person to the sales call. You're bringing that person to your business. Don't let that person be the spokesman in your business. Don't brand that person.
There you have it, guys. So this has been a phenomenal edition of Breakfast with the Brand. I hope you enjoyed. Definitely we'll be tapping in with you next week, 8 a.m. EST. Please check it out. Leadership Live Deep Dive at 5 if you are so obliged. And we'll be speaking soon. Have a phenomenal day and let's grow.
Let's grow.